Hello and welcome back to the Bucket Getters podcast. We're here doing an emergency podcast based off the Nets firing their head coach, Steve Nash, after a poor start to the season. The team were 2-5 before today, and they just lost another game to the Bulls. We'll get to all the action from that. Initially, Texan, you're here with me as always. How are you today, mate?
I'm good, mate, and I'm going to come out swinging. First hot take. I'm happy for Steve Nash.
Happy for Steve Nash. Absolutely. I mean, this has been a roller coaster of emotions for the Nets fans and the Nets players, and the whole organization finally has a bit of change, which could be good, could be bad. They've had change all throughout their roster and their front office for about 2 years now. It's extremely interesting to see what's going to happen next. I know there's been rumors coming out from Woj and Shams that the next guy is the Celtics ex-head coach, Ime Udoka, led them to the finals last year. He's been suspended for a year due to misconduct in the organization. But there is that conversation going around that he is the next guy up for the Nets. What are your thoughts on that? And for Nash in general, what's next for him and things like that, Tex?
I mean, for a team that in the general basketball discussion is discussed pretty regularly, I say they're top three or four. They've got one playoff series win to show for it. And 4 years of Kyrie and KD just absolutely shambles. I mean, they really haven't achieved anything. I feel like they haven't even got really a foothold in sort of the basketball. I don't want to say market, but sort of the fans. You don't see many Brooklyn fans. I mean, the whole thing's just been a absolute like dumpster fire. I think Kyrie and Kevin have got to look at themselves, particularly Kevin Durant. I mean, Kyrie's too far gone probably at this
He's away
point.
with his fair. He's away with enough
Yeah,
fairies already.
he is what he is at the moment. But like, I think it's time for Kevin Durant to show a bit of like off-court leadership. I know that he just loves playing basketball, and that's great. But at some point, like you're the best player on this team. You're really the focal point of this entire franchise. Like you got to step up off the court and start building a winning culture there because they had it. Like people forget that they had it. They had a good little setup going. Remember with D'Lo, Jared Dudley, who else was
Jared
on that team?
Allen was
Kenny
on that
Atkins,
team. Kenny
Jared
Atkins is the
Jared
head
Allen.
coach.
Like they built a really strong core, and it's just been absolutely destroyed. And I don't know. I feel like Steve Nash is not going to be the first to go. I think Kyrie potentially. He was awful today. We might talk about that, but yeah, I
Yeah, I
can't
was
wait to see
thinking
what
about
happens.
I was thinking about what's going to happen next. Obviously, with Steve Nash going, that's the first pillar to fall. Is there going to be a domino effect? Sean Marks, he seems like a cat with 9 lives at the moment. He is just surviving absolutely everything that's going on. When it's his decision to bring in these guys, obviously he's kind of handed the keys to guys like Durant and Kyrie in the past, and let them choose the coach, which ended up being Steve Nash, who is no longer there. And now, if it's Ime Udoka, which it could be, that is extremely strange hiring in terms of not from a basketball perspective at all, because I think he's a fantastic defensive coach and a fantastic coach in general and motivator of people. But from an organizational perspective, an organization that's had so much turmoil and just change and it's weird. It doesn't make sense to me. It seems like something that Durant and Kyrie might be pushing. The timing is weird in terms of these reports came out an hour after Nash was reportedly fired. So if they've done due diligence before, it's a terrible look for the organization. And if they haven't, then why are they not doing it? Because at the end of the day, the Celtics organization are not just going to suspend a guy who's taken their team to the first finals appearance since 2008. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, it's almost another discussion, like what is happening with him. Because like everything normally gets out. Like you can't get away with anything without it all getting out. But this, I wear what it happened a month ago, and we're none the wiser of what's actually happened.
Yep.
So that's number one. Two, I know he's been suspended by the Celtics, but do they still have like? Is he still?
Yeah,
He's still an
technically he's still
employee
under
there.
contract. Yeah, so technically he is still under contract. So basically he would have to break the contract with the Boston Celtics in order to go and coach the Nets. Now that usually in the NBA is subject to compensation. So for example, there's been historical where it's a cash settlement or it's a second round pick or something in exchange for a coach. That doesn't appear to be the case so far. But yeah,
Mate, I just think that maybe they're not that good. Like
I completely agree.
Durant is great, awesome. Like I think he's a separate discussion, and I'd even argue Simmons is a separate discussion because he's obviously had coming off what he's come off. He's new, but Kyrie's just like I think we need to settle on the fact that Kyrie is a brilliant basketball player, but he's not great for you game to game. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like purely basketball wise, unbelievable. I don't think anybody can dispute the talent. We've seen it. But I just think he's not a winning player.
No,
Do
I
you know what I
agree.
mean? Like he's a ISO heavy, not a great shooter. Like he can look. It's almost getting seduced into the talent over and over again. And I think we might have this discussion on another pod. At what point is it more valuable just having a bunch of guys who probably don't have the ceiling of a Kyrie? They can't go out and give you 50 in a playoff game, but they play hard every night and they're available every night. I think that's sort of what the Nets have got themselves into, where they've put all their eggs in the basket of talented but not, I don't know, supremely like competitive and there every night. So then you can't rely on each other. And I feel like it's just the Durant show, and he doesn't necessarily want it to be that, but it's sort of become that.
Yeah, I have a lot of question marks about their roster, their makeup in terms of their size. They just have no big guys. And rebounding has been a massive issue. Like they gave up 11 offensive rebounds today to the Chicago Bulls, whose best rebounder is Vucevic. Like, so that kind of thing it kind of worries me a little bit when guys like Vuce are getting that together.
How do you feel about Sean Marks? Because he inherited, like, for those of you who don't know, Brooklyn would have been what, 8 years ago now. Gave up all their early picks for Garnett, Pierce, and Jason Terry, and it basically decimated them. Like Garnett and Pierce were there for maybe 2 years. Then the Nets bottomed out. They had back to back top three selections that ended up going to Boston, and that's when Marks took over the worst situation in the league. Like they had absolutely nothing, and he
Yeah,
built them up like organically through no high picks, nothing. Like traded, hired the right guys, built them up to the point where they were able to cash in those chips for players that can win you championships. But then has he done a good job and just picked the wrong guys to leverage his future on? Because if we go back to 2014, he's probably nailed every step along the way, apart from the Kyrie Irving decision, I could argue, and maybe the James Harden one. But everything pre getting Kyrie Irving seemed to be absolutely perfect from him.
oh, for sure. He's a fantastic GM. And one of the funny things, so I was listening to on ESPN today, Bobby Marks, who's
Oh, Bobby
actually
Marks, stop talking. You ruined that franchise.
so he's the one that actually made the trade. He was the GM before Sean Marks, which is ironic in that fact. So he was commenting on this organization, the way they are sort of progressing and things like that. The one thing that he did say, which I kind of actually agreed with, they've done it before. So there is the opportunity to get rid of a guy like Kyrie Irving with the hope that he has some value left in the open market. Now, whether he does, that's a completely different discussion. But if you can get a couple of picks back, um, there is opportunities there to, with the same core of the organization, to draft young players and rebuild. I'm not saying it's the best option, because when you've got a guy like Kevin Durant on your team, you always give yourself a chance of winning. But there is that opportunity if these guys hold enough weight in the open market that is another option for them going forward.
But like, I don't know what's Kyrie worth. He's only going
It's
to want
no
to.
idea.
He's only going to want to play for a team in a major city who's good, and they got to want him. And I don't see any of the contenders. I mean, the Lakers are the obvious pick, but do Brooklyn want Russ? I mean, they probably do that deal, the two firsts and Russ for Kyrie, which I think is probably a win for Brooklyn.
But then
It's a
KD
massive win
leaves.
for Brooklyn.
But then
No, that's
KD
what I'm
wants
saying.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'll trade KD too.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we start with those two first round picks, Simmons, Claxton, and just build from there. I think I don't know want to say they're too far gone, but it seems like they've, I don't know, shot themselves in the foot a bit.
It's really tough because they have this just talented roster. 1 through 8, they've got guys that are fantastic on both ends of the floor for a lot of the time, and it must be hard as a GM or an owner to make a call to get rid of a guy like Kevin Durant. It just must be. You just can't do it. It just doesn't work. These things don't work.
It
But I think you
seems
need to be bold.
talk about sliding doors moments. Like if Durant's foot is behind that line, they beat the Bucks in 2020. They probably beat the Hawks, and then I think they were more than capable of beating Phoenix, and they're potentially NBA champions.
Yep.
But Durant's foot's on the line. Kyrie doesn't get vaccinated. Harden wants out. Simmons isn't ready. It's just been a snowball effect of like one bad thing after another after another. I think it's bad NBA karma. They had a great coach and a great culture, and they got rid of both of them. They sold their soul a little bit for a team that's soulless. They're the second team in town. It's the Knicks and everybody else. And yeah, I don't know what's going to happen now.
Yeah, the Harden trade just looks worse and worse. A guy on their team, they have Jared Allen, Karis LeVert
Why'd
coming
they
off the
get
bench.
Jared Allen?
They
How good
basically
Jared
gave
Allen?
him away for free.
They gave away an all-star caliber defense. They gave away exactly what they need.
Yeah,
like,
a 7
exactly.
foot center that blocks shots like he and can like throw it down, rim runner. He was perfect on their
Like
team, so it's very disappointing.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm happy for Steve Nash. He's made all his money. Like he can go live it up, go do whatever he wants to do now. He's not burdened by this. It seems like they need a coach with a bit of like gravitas, a bit of swagger, who's able to get on the guys because you just can't. I don't know. I feel like you need someone to put guys like Kyrie in line and sort of challenge them to be who they should be.
Yeah, exactly. So right now they've got Jack Vaughn as their interim head coach. I'm to be honest with you, I'm not sure how long he'll last as interim, just purely based off the reports that Udoka is coming in, and if it is Udoka, it brings more drama to an already drama-filled organization, and ultimately it might be the right call in the long run. But right now, I don't think they have the defensive style players to that. It doesn't matter what system they're in. I don't think they'll be successful defensively at the moment, and that's just the bottom line to me.
Yeah, I think they had something good going. They got what's the word? The bright lights. They got attracted to the bright lights of the names and the superstars, and I think it's just dug them a bigger hole. But we'll see. There's still a long way to go. They've only played 6 games.
Yeah, I think 8 now, but yeah, exactly right.
Oh,
They're
they 1-7.
They're 2-6. They survived that Pacers game the other day, which was incredible. Like just to get out of that game was a miracle. And I thought Steve Nash would have been gone if they had lost that game. Turns out even winning it wasn't enough to save his job. I think it was time enough. Why this didn't happen in the offseason, I really do not know. Where he gets fired after 7 games. It's not a fair run. Should have been done in the offseason so they could reset completely. I've seen some things that Udoka was under contract, so so they couldn't get it done. But there's no way that they knew about all of this stuff before a lot of other people, and then there's no way that drove their argument. But in the end of the day, it's still a mistreatment of people. I'm not sure it's always the best way to bring someone back. Sometimes if you know that guy's not the right guy for the job, you got to get rid of him straight away and rebuild immediately. What are your thoughts there?
It seems like they think Ime's that guy. He was there. He was there before he took the Boston job, and it seems they're pretty confident that he's the guy they want. So,
yeah, he also has a relationship with Simmons from Philadelphia and Kevin Durant from Team USA. So maybe he is the guy that makes it different.
Yeah, it seems like he's their guy. Like I said, we don't even know what's to go with him. So there's still plenty of questions to be answered. I'm sure we'll find out in the coming weeks. But yeah, crazy day. The content machine never stops spinning.
The NBA content machine never stops. That's absolutely correct. Hey, go check us out on Instagram at bucketgetterspod and on Spotify, the Bucket Getters Pod. And we'll speak to you guys soon.